Everyone welcome Dr. T.
In the end, HIV was my beginning, not my end. It's a little surreal for me to be standing here on a stage, not as Dr. T, CEO of San Francisco AIDS Foundation, but as Tyler. So I want you to get to know Tyler tonight. Tyler grew up in a small town in Ohio. Tyler is the product of an interracial marriage. His father and mother are extreme opposites. His father is this 6'4" white guy, MVP of the high school basketball team who fell in love with the 4'11" Spitfire black girl. Their love was unbreakable, but was not appreciated by anyone in the town that they grew up in. And in fact, was pretty hated in the town that they grew up in. My grandparents did everything in their power to keep them apart, including personally getting them kicked out of the National Honor Society. My grandmother wore all black to their wedding in a very dramatic statement, which is perhaps why I grew up such a dramatic child, took after my grandmother. From such a young age, I found my peace, my joy in drama, the stage. I grew up a choir kid, a drama kid, a kid that needed to find peace and joy in something because I was so scared about my own identity. I grew up in a very white community raised by strong black women. After what happened in my home life, which is exactly what my grandparents said would. My parents got divorced. Now, I grew up telling this story about how my father went to jail, and everyone assumed that my father was the black man. But of course, that's how stigma works. People make a lot of assumptions about who you are by what you look like. And so as my life went on, and as I grew up, I struggled a lot with identity. Who I was, who I would become, a black man, a queer man, and eventually someone who was living with HIV. Sitting at the intersection of all of these things was something I struggled with for years, until I came here to San Francisco. The first black CEO of San Francisco AIDS Foundation. Now, it's not been easy. It's quite a journey. This is my journey of acceptance. Acceptance of the things I can't change, acceptance of the fear that I hold inside, acceptance of all of the things that I have yet to explore here on my journey of being a CEO, of leading through an unprecedented time. But what I know from decades of LGBTQ history and of our movement is that the resilience of our people, the resilience of everyone in this room, is what made us who we are today. We all have a backstory. We all have a story that have made us strong enough to get to this moment. And this moment is what made us so powerful. And so that same resilience is what's going to get us to tomorrow. It's going to get us to the next day and the day after that. And it's going to get us to 3.5 years from now. And it's going to get us to zero. So what I'm hoping for a future is a future where trans and queer people don't have to fight for their dignity. A future where people living with HIV can thrive. A future where we are at zero. A future where the next generation doesn't have to live with their trauma, but they can celebrate with triumph. Let's get to zero.
Zero, we need to get to zero. We can make it if we try. Zero, we gotta get to zero. We need to get to zero. We can make it if we try. Zero, we gotta get to zero. We need to get to zero. We can make it if we try.
It is good. Hell, it was great. My garden brimmed with unconditional love, grits, and gorgeous possibility. Every river of breath carried the same promise. All my children will win. But something happened between sunrise and the next hard midnight. Something slipped. Love got taxed, mercy got rationed, and a little small ribbon, no bigger than a fingernail, turned into a border wall around black bodies. I heard sons in Oakland and daughters in Memphis carry more virus than opportunity. I heard grandmothers in Bayview go from braiding hair to counting pills. I heard Southern church pews whisper, God can heal anything, but don't you dare say HIV out loud. Let me be plain like Sister Soldier on a Brooklyn stoop. If you ignore the crack in my foundation, the crack carved by racism, poverty, medical mistrust, you will never create a sky high enough for all of us to fly. Zero infections mean nothing if black folk are still dying in the margins of the spreadsheet. And don't tell me that numbers don't bleed, baby. Ask the mothers who bury sons like the lawmen bury data. Ask the trans sisters who trade safety tips in the mirrors because the clinic turned them away at the door. Ask the brothers on San Pablo Ave who know the goodness of PrEP and that it exists, but can't afford to get to the pharmacy that stocks it. I remember when knowledge was contraband. In '81, it was called a gay cancer. In '84, we finally learned his real name. In '95, the drugs got fierce. In 20-something, the injections got longer, the pills got fewer, yet stigma stayed stubborn like rust. We learned a holy truth. Undetectable does equal untransmittable. But we forgot to post that gospel in the Black and Southern dialects. We forgot to yell it loud enough, louder than the hate that calls queer love a sin, louder than the policies that siphon care from zip codes, lined with liquor stores and payday loans, louder than the needed normalization of conversations that often go silent or fall on deaf ears. I've seen shame masquerade as silence, seen it flattened tongues until the truth was suffocated. Because when truth dies, the virus thrives. Because it's in silence that predators prowl. A boy, 15 years old, trusted the uncle that drove him to football practice. One night, the plays ended early, but the uncle's hands played violently. He suppressed the pain. He suppressed the shame. A flyer for years haunted him. Free HIV test, no judgment. Fear hissed. You never test? You'll never know. Wisdom whispered. If you don't test, you'll never heal. He chose wisdom. But that 8-minute rapid test felt like 8 long years. Did you know that 1 in 7 individuals who are HIV positive still don't know their status? Now, he was negative, hallelujah. But the nurse stayed long enough to give him a hotline, a therapist, and the truth. Your trauma doesn't define you, sweetheart. And you testing today is a love letter to your future self. But just imagine all the people whose story has never been told. That is how shame feeds the virus. Not just in blood, but in secrets. So hear me now, children of every spectrum. We don't just fight a virus. We fight the scaffolds that allow it to climb. Zero HIV means zero racism, zero ageism, zero homophobia, zero transphobia, zero poverty of spirit. That is the real equation. We solve for those variables, and I guarantee you that the viral load of injustice will drop to undetectable. Zero sexism, zero ageism, zero homophobia. We have work to do. I can see the changes that have been made. Mobile vans in East Oakland popping up giving free tests and a hug that says, I see you. Cabotegravir shots once every 2 months, no daily shame on the nightstand. A Moja Health Access Point and San Francisco LGBT Center open the doors so wide that even doubt feels comfortable enough to come in and heal. Southern church mothers whispering, baby, take your prep with your grace. Faith is much better with medicine. But medicine unused is medicine wasted. So I'm talking to you. Yeah. You in the third row with the tender eyes. I'm talking to you in the back who's sitting there and tapping your leg like you got somewhere else better to be. Show up, stand up where the blood and the numbers bleed the most. March into the barbershops, march into the beauty salons, march into the ballrooms, march at the block parties. Dare to say HIV without whispering. Dare to say PrEP without blushing. Dare to say black people and viral suppression in the same sentence is needed. Because until that day that the last young black person tests negative, until that day that the last Southern county stocks condoms and courage, until that day when the last quill elder kisses their partner in the daylight without fear, my garden is unfinished. And let me tell you, beloved, Mother Earth finishes everything she starts, period. So let's till the soil. Let's garden it with love and harvest it with accountability. And then one morning we will get up and we will say, it is good. It is good. Now, here, it is great.
Zippity-doo-dah, zippity-yay. Hey. Hey, everyone. My, oh my, what a wonderful day. I have a story to tell. I was in a church basement, in a very small room. 30 years ago, thereabouts. It was an AA meeting, as you can well imagine. And I remember seeing the speaker. I was young in my recovery at the time, a couple of years, and he was a bit more advanced in his recovery. And I was really enjoying what he was saying about recovery and the recovery process. And he was cute as hell. So at the end of the meeting, I made a beeline right for him. And I told him how much I enjoyed what he was talking about, recovery and the recovery process. And I thought there was a lot I could learn from him. And he thought, that's a possibility. I could see that. And he was going to give me his number. And he gave me his number. He said, give me a call. And I said, you know what? If you're here tomorrow, I'm going to be here tomorrow. Let's meet up. And he goes, yeah, we could have lunch afterwards. Excellent, great. I couldn't wait for the next day. I ran for that room, and there he was. And I looked across at him and started smiling. He looked across and saw me. He started smiling. I don't remember much about that meeting that day, but I know at the end of it, we went out and we had lunch. And I need to let you know, I don't have chill in the best of days these days, and I had absolutely no chill back then. So as we're meeting and talking and getting to know each other, he was telling me about his recovery, and he was telling me about his artwork, He was an artist, and he showed me some of his prints and some of his pottery. I really didn't have any chill. And I told him, I want to have sex with you between the sandwiches and the coffee. And he started to smile and he goes, I think we can make that happen. And I said, I really enjoy your prints. And he goes, I really like you. You know? And we ended up getting together. Before we got together, though, before we even started to make out, he said, there's something you need to know. I have AIDS. And I totally understand if that's a limit for you. Back in the day, a lot of it was about zero sorting and only having a sexual relationship with someone of your same status, or zero positioning, you know, the person who was positive would be the receptive partner, or any sort of mixture of that. And by that point, I'd already really liked the guy. And I said, let's just go for it. Let's see what happens. I'll tell you when I'm nervous. But to be perfectly honest, because he was so upfront about it, and because we had already had so many conversations about ourselves, and because I thought he was cute anyway, I trusted him. And he was trustworthy. And we started a relationship that lasted, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months. And I remember he took me out to this wonderful dinner. It's one of those fancy restaurants where the waiters and waitresses are also opera singers, and so they're singing arias between giving you your dishes. And it was beautiful and, very Italianate, like pillars across the walls and, exotic plants. And as we're eating our spaghetti, he goes, what do you think about gay marriage? What do you think about marriage between two men? And if you can imagine, like, this is the 80s. And I was a young guy and was just coming out, and I started to laugh. Because I thought, marriage between two guys? You don't do that. That they'll never allow something like that. And then I got into the political, even if we could, like, do we want to do heteronormative, whatever. And I saw his face drop a little bit. And I could understand that I was saying something that was hurtful to him. I was young, I really wasn't getting it. I didn't connect it. And I remember a few nights later, me and him and a good girlfriend of his, we were all having dinner at his place, and she had me aside as he was doing the dishes, and she took me aside and she said, I hear that you guys talked about marriage, gay marriage. And I said, yeah, that can't happen between two guys. And he said, you do know, like, you broke his heart. I broke his heart. And he goes, he was going to propose to you. And you essentially said no. It broke my heart. I was frivolous. I was a young kid. I thought we were having a political conversation, a social conversation, and I couldn't process it that that's what it was leading to. A couple of years later, we sort of drift apart a little bit, quite a bit actually. And John, that was his name, he decided to take his life. It was common then, people who had AIDS was not seeing any benefit happening. He was getting sicker and sicker. He had created a plan for himself, and he decided when he wanted to take his life. It was a full-out empowerment plan that he had for his life and his leaving this life. And when I found out about it, it broke my heart. I knew it was going to happen. His friends knew it was going to happen. His family didn't. But his is a story that I always hold in my heart. That couple of other experiences made me consider all the experiences that I've said no to, that I wish I would have said yes to. And more in my life today, as an HIV positive man, long-term survivor, as a cancer survivor, I want to say yes to life. So I say yes. I say yes to how I support my community, as I can support my community. I say yes to the relationships and potential relationships I can have with people. I say yes to connecting how I can connect with people. I say yes to the journey of life, of living, because that's what I got. That's what we all got, is saying yes to each other and finding ways of connecting and being in community with one another. I said yes to this. These are not, saying yes is not easy. But saying yes is also the most fulfilling thing I can do in my life. Yes, y'all. Thank you.
To zero, need to get to zero. We can make it if we tried. Zero, trying to get to zero, need to get to zero. We can make it if we tried. We stand together as one, you see, different perspectives of hard fighting. We come together as a team. We must work harder, cause we gotta get to zero. Zero. Zero, zero, zero. Take my hand and say, we stand together. We come as one. Zero. We stand together as one, you see, different perspectives of hard fighting. We come together as a team. We must work harder, cause we gotta get to zero.
check this. I was on this app called Her one night, because a nigga was trying to bust a nut. So, for those of y'all who don't know what Her is, it's an app for literally everyone except cis man. Sorry, but y'all got Grindr. Anyway, so I'm on this app scrolling, and I come across this baddie, y'all. And we get to chopping it up or whatever. Now, I am a trans man who identifies as pansexual, but I do have this thing when it comes to age. I don't really like to do with people younger than me. You either gotta be older or at least the same age as me. But, you know, she was cool, so I gave her a chance. Now, within me being pansexual, another thing that I have learned when it comes to dealing with women, whether it's a cis woman or a trans woman, they just take a long time to drop them panties, y'all. Sorry. So, you know, the first night we kicked it, we didn't hook up. She was hella cool, she was a vibe. And then eventually she got to the point where she was ready to, you know, go on that journey. So I was ready to take her on a ride. I'd say that we had sex a few times before I got that call. I was at work one day and she hit me up talking about she needed to talk to me about something. So I took a break, I went outside, called her up, and then she let me know that she was HIV positive, but undetectable. Now, I didn't say anything after she said that. I just kind of sat there silent. And afterwards, she was just like, yeah, like I wanted to tell you sooner, I just didn't know how. I still didn't say anything because I didn't have any words. I really needed to, you know, like process. So eventually I got off the phone with her. I told her that I would call her back. I called up one of my close friends who I knew was HIV positive, undetectable, just because, you know, I needed someone to talk to. I needed a little bit of clarity. Like, I knew a little bit about HIV, but yeah, I just wanted someone to like chop it up with and, you know, just get that clarity. Me and my friend get off the phone and I called her back up. I told her that it was cool and I still wanted to kick it with her. And I understood why she didn't tell me. I really appreciated her for telling me that, because at the end of the day, y'all, a person who is HIV positive, that's their right to tell you their status. They really don't got to tell you shit. So, you know, like, I appreciated that. Anyway, me and her started kicking it. Eventually we fell off, not because she had HIV. I just needed to have my hot boy summer. But anyway, whole point is, like, I just really wish that people were like not so judgmental and like would educate themselves more on the topic of HIV and folks that are positive. I feel like, and no shade to any of the boys that's here, but our community is, to me, the most ignorant when it comes to HIV. Sorry, boys, if y'all in the crowd. But for instance, I used to kick it with this dude that I used to work with. He was another trans boy. And he used to tell me about this girl that he would go see out in Texas. One day she called this man up and she let him know that she was HIV positive but undetectable. And y'all, that nigga was tripping. So he chopping it up, like telling me like his bit of the story. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, bro, like, you know, he's like going on and on. He's like, oh, like, why this bitch didn't tell me? Sorry, people who are offended by that word. But yeah, he tells me this and I'm like, yo, like, why didn't you ask her, bro? So he's going on and on. I'm not cutting him off or anything. I'm just letting him talk because, like, I understand he's processing. People need to have, like, their experiences. But after a while, I'm like, bro, like, just go see your doctor. He's still going on and on. But again, point is, I feel like folks should just educate themselves before judging someone who is HIV positive. I feel like there's a lot of misinformation, especially when it comes to things like transmission and stuff. But you know, we all deserve respect. We all deserve dignity. We all deserve honor, and we all deserve to live with zero stigma.
if we try. We can make it if we try. We can make it if we try. We can make it if we try.
My mom would always tell me that I could be anything that I wanted to be, but not a dancer. You see, my mom is a ballerina, so I grew up with dance. It wasn't her being rude, it was her way of protecting me from the tough life of being a dancer. But dance is in me. It will always be in me, as she is in me. As much as dance is in me, advocacy and research are also in me. HIV research. Throughout my entire career, I was motivated by the human aspect of things. Love and social justice. When I was at Gladstone and I was working on the breakthrough PrEP study, one of the many ideas crucial to us and that we worked on was how can we make sure that whatever idea for PrEP or whatever incredible scientific breakthrough that we may come to, what use does it have if it's not accessible to each one of us equally and in a safe way? So from 2006 to 2010, I was part of this cohort team of people that ran the IPREX trial. There were 2,499 amazing participants and over 745 people working in different sites around 7 countries. It was truly an outwardly experience with incredible community engagement. Truvada, the first pill for HIV PrEP, pre-exposure prophylaxis, was approved by the FDA in 2012. Now we have injectables. You just get an injection twice a year. But does everyone have access to it? I think it's important to my story, all while this is happening, that I was going through my own life hardships. I think that whatever position, whatever we do in life, we bring the whole of who we are to the work. Me, I had 2 major intense postpartum depressions that at times totally immobilized me. One was so intense during the IPREX PrEP trial, I didn't think I was going to make it to the finish line. So my own life experiences have made me very acutely aware of the impact of trauma and mental health. How it shapes my perspectives on the way we approach treatment, PrEP, and even a cure for HIV. It has to be holistic, a whole person, mind, body, spirit approach. I do nothing without spirit. Emphasizing the importance of community engagement and the use of the arts to educate scientists and the public. For CURE, we use art-integrated research. It involves creating art with study participants to balance those power dynamics and foster new ideas. We can have the cure, but we have to know what it feels like or what people's fears or thoughts or hopes are for it. That's why arts integrated research is so important. There's a lot of hope that we will get to zero when we find a cure. There are people that I love that I have lost. There are people that I love that are living with PrEP. And there are now people that have been cured, starting with Timothy. And now there's Mark and Paul and Adam and more. So the thing is, when, how, and which modalities are going to succeed, I cannot tell you when or how, but I wouldn't want to put my words on anything. But what I can tell you is that all the people that are researching the cure are really dedicated to finding one.
Spring of 1984, I was living in Japan, and I was teaching aerobics. Can you imagine that? Me, the Richard Simmons of the Pacific? No, right? Well, anyway, so that particular morning in 1984, I'm having breakfast with this Japanese guy that I was dating. Over the pancakes, he pulls out the English language newspaper, and he points to this article, and he's saying, "Do you know about this disease that's killing gay folks in America?" And I look at him and I'm like, "No." And then he says, he and his Japanese friends, they all think all Americans have it, especially me. I was taken aback. And I said, "No, I don't have it." And then he started to get weird, so we broke up shortly after that. And then that summer, I moved back to Hawaii. I left Japan. And the first person I knew who had it was the ex of a friend of mine. So I heard him telling my friend, then I heard my friend telling his friends, and then his friends told me. And I thought, you know, I think I'm going to move back to San Francisco. And so I got back to San Francisco, and it was a ghost town. Where were all the people? What happened to all the cute restaurants? And do you remember, like, when you used to go to bars, they would have popcorn and chips that you could eat, that you could have with your drinks? Yeah, right? So I went to go help myself, and my friend grabbed my hand, and she looked at me and she said, "AIDS." I never touched that stuff again. You know, it was a scary time. Dating was scary. It's like, you know, I dated, but we always used condoms. And there was even a period where I abstained from sex. I think everybody did. But anyway, fast forward a little bit, I moved to New York, and I was dating this guy, and I thought, he's the one. So one night, after we were several bottles of wine, some very romantic talk, I just forgot about that condom and I just enjoyed the moment. Well, happily ever after was over in 1987, a year later. And then came 1989. I developed what I thought was strep throat. So I didn't have health insurance, so I went to the public health clinic up on, I think it was like 26th Avenue or something. And they do my intake, and then they found out I was a gay man. And they said, oh, you need to test for HIV. I said, what? They said, you need to test for HIV, so they directed me to go somewhere else. So as I was walking, I'm like, I don't know why they're having me test for HIV, but I got there, and the first thing I see is the doctor, and she's this Asian woman. I'm looking at her and go, oh my God, she kind of looks like my mom. So anyway, the doors open, and I can hear her talking to her patient, and she's saying things like, that man's an animal. Well, actually, she was talking to him, and then I came in, and she was saying things like, that man's an animal. He's a murderer. How could women go with him? And I'm just thinking, what the? And then she looks at me, and she says, what about you? Are you gay? Do you do drugs? And I'm like, oh my God, she sounds like my mother. So before I know it, I'm testing for HIV just so she would shut up. So they took my blood, I left. I think it's not gonna matter because I'm not gonna have it. At that time, there was also a rumor going around that Asians didn't get it. Well, a month later, I got home from work and I went to get the mail, and there's a little card and it said, please come back to the clinic, we need to talk to you about your test. I went in and I called and said, oh yes, we need to see you right away. So I went down. That day was kind of a blur to me. I was calm, but they kept asking me, are you okay? And I was like, I'm okay. Are you okay? And they said, well, you know, did you know you had it? And I'm like, I didn't know I had it. I have it. And just, well, you really are handling it very well. And I told her, well, if I'm handling it, I don't think it's that I handle it well, I think you handle it poorly. And then I thought, you know, how will I ever find love after this? Will I find someone to love me? Then I met Jesse. Jesse became my partner, and probably the love of my life. And so we moved back to San Francisco in November 1990. Then he died slightly less than a year later on October 6, 1991. So move forward, spring 1992. I was getting ready to go to New York for an event at Stonewall. And I got a call. Happily ever after, I had moved to San Francisco, and he was asking me to come to the hospital. So I asked, sure, where are you? He was in the same hospital that Jesse was in when he died. So I show up, and I see him, and he's wrapped in plastic, and there's all these tubes coming out, and he's in the same bed that Jesse was in when Jesse died. I started talking to him, and I said, you know, most likely you and I infected each other because when I tested positive, you were the only person I had to tell. And he said, yeah, I know. And I said, well, I just want you to know, if I infected you, I'm sorry. And if you infected me, I forgive you. And it was one of those moments. And then I started laughing, and I said, did you ever think you had HIV? Because I never did. And he said, yes, I've known since college. And I was like, college? That was at least 2 years before you were dating me. And I thought, oh my God, I just forgave him for doing something he did knowingly. And I said, God, give me a sign because I could do something I'm going to regret. But then I looked at him, and I remembered Jesse, who had died in that same bed less than 6 months before. And I thought, you know, I have to forgive him. He's going to die. And I don't ever want to feel that kind of hate. I didn't want him to die with me hating him. I didn't want to feel like a victim for the rest of my life. So I forgave him. And then I had to think about, what am I going to do with my life? So I thought back, and I remembered Jesse's funeral in New York. 400 people showed up. And I was kind of taken aback. I didn't know many of them, but they just accepted me like I was family. And so at the very end of the night, there was a woman standing over in the corner, and I approached her. I said, would you like to say something? You've been here all night. And she stepped up to the mic, and she said, Jesse taught me to do something nobody else could. He taught me how to love my child. And I was just kind of taken back, and I thought, wow. Jesse worked with special needs kids, severely special needs, severely disabled, and it would be just like him to teach us about love. So I thought, well, maybe I can use my life, maybe I can do something to give back, to set an example, to get us to zero stigma for all communities, especially my Asian and Pacific Islander community. And that's kind of what I've done. So Jesse, thank you. Thank you for showing me the way to love.
Gotta get to zero. Oh, zero. Need to get to zero. I said, y'all, zero. Hey, gotta get to zero. Oh, zero. Need to get to zero. We can make it. Say, y'all, if we try. Said it if we try, y'all, yeah. Z-E-R-O, zero. Hey, gotta get to zero. Oh, zero. Need to get to zero. Good God Almighty, y'all. Hey, gotta get to zero. Y'all better sing. Oh, zero. Need to get to zero. We can make it. Yeah. If we try. Said it if we try, y'all, yeah. Z-E-R-O, zero. Hey, gotta get the zero. Hey, oh, zero. Need to get to zero. Good God Almighty, y'all. Hey, gotta get to zero. Oh, zero. Need to get to zero. Sing, y'all. Hey, if we try. Said it if we try, y'all, yeah. Try. All right, y'all. Childish. It was October the 13th, 1997. And at the time I was a junior at the University of Montevallo in Alabama, and I was home in Columbia, Tennessee on fall break. And my mother had taken off on that day, and we decided to go get lunch. And we came back home, sitting at the kitchen table, and the kitchen phone rung. A kitchen phone is a phone. It's in the kitchen. You can't text with it. You can't go nowhere else. You can't take a picture of nobody. It belongs where? In the kitchen on the wall. So, back to my story. The kitchen phone rung. And I picked it up and I said, hello. The person on the other end said, yes, may I speak to a Timothy Hampton? And I said proudly, this is Timothy Hampton. She said, Sir, did you try and give blood at a Red Cross blood drive at the University of Montevallo? Honey, proudly. I said, sure, yes, I did. She said, well, honey, we can't use your blood. I said, why not? She said, because it came back HIV positive. I said, who is this? Is this Tia, my best friend? The lady said, sir, I'm sorry to inform you, but your test came back HIV positive. I said, sis, what do you want me to do about it? She said, we'll need you to come down to the health department by the end of the day. I said, shit, I ain't coming down to the health department. Listen, y'all, at the time I lived in Columbia, Tennessee, it was one health department and 2 stoplights. And one of the stoplights was by the health department. Hell no, I ain't going now. She said, sir, if you're not here by the end of the day, we will send the police to come pick you up. I said, well, girl, I'm on my way. I'll talk to you later. I hung up the phone and my mother immediately looked at me and she said, boy, who was that on the phone? And before I could even think about it, I said, that was the health department, girl. They just told me I had HIV. And she said, well, what do they want you to do about it? I said, they said that I need to come down to the end of, to the health department by the end of the day, or they're gonna send the police to pick me up. She said, well, shit, let's get the hell up out of here. I said, I'm not going, mama. Because HIV ends in AIDS. And AIDS ends in death. My mother looked at me and she said,
you don't have to worry, and don't you be afraid. Joy comes in the morning. Troubles, they won't last always. For there's a friend in Jesus who will wipe your tears away. And if your heart is broken, just lift your hands and say, oh, I know that I can stand. No matter what may come my way, my life is in your hands. With Jesus I can take it. With him I know I can stand. No matter what comes my way, my life is in your hands. I don't care what it looks like. I don't care how you feel. Oh, no matter what, AIDS is not big for God. My life is in your hands. My life is in. Hey. He is a healer. He's whatever you need. You can reach up and grab him. My life is in your hands. My healing is in your hands. My miracle is in your hands. Yeah. My life is in your hands. If you believe it, you are just waving the house. If you believe it, that he can do the impossible. He's a healer. He's a sustainer. He's an encourager. Some people die of loneliness. He'll be right there. For my life is in your hands.
Yeah, I did make it. I found out that undetectable can happen for me. And that was because I had the best voice of support ever. I had my mother. And then, July the 11th, 2011, it was just a phone call. And then there was no more. You know, you know how to live your life with your mother, but living my life without her is something different. You have your good days, and you have your bad days. And one day I was having a rough day. And I looked at this person. She was on Facebook and she was singing. And it made me rethink some things. I had stopped taking my medicine. I was ready to take the plunge. But thank you, Michelle. I ain't gonna cry, y'all. Shit. But I miss my mama. And then, come on, Justin. We're all from Nashville, Tennessee. And Justin became my boss. And he became a very good inspiration on living again and creating again. When I started working for Justin, I didn't know how to create anymore. But he gave me a little love to create even what we're doing tonight. So thank you, brother. You're beautiful. So, yeah, no, you're good. So tonight, this storytelling is to create a pathway to empathy. For all people, we all have something to share, to connect with. And in this moment, I am so grateful for Mother Earth. She let us know where we were in life. And Mother Earth will let us know how to continue our life.
Mother Earth has heard you children. My beloved Dr. Tyler, thank you for giving that much needed and timely state of address. My beloved son Derek, thank you for being the voice of support. My beloved son Avery, thank you for being the prevention pusher. My beloved Dr. Patricia, thank you for being the cure to zero. My beloved son Vince, thank you for being the long-term survivor advocate. And even you, my beloved Timothy, thank you for responding to the call and being our creative long-term survivor. Remember, your mother's spirit will forever be with you. You all's words have tilled the soil. You all's songs have watered it. Do you feel the shift? The air feels different when shame is uprooted. So hear me now when I say, well done, my good and faithful servants. You have been faithful in planting the seed for zero stigma, zero ageism, zero homophobia, zero transphobia, zero racism, zero fear, and more. Because you have been faithful in these few, I will make you ruler over many. Over the clinic doors that need to be reopened, over the injustice of policies that need to be reversed, over the classrooms that need to re-talk about consent just as much as they talk about arithmetic, over the grandmama's tables when a pill box and cornbread can be passed at the same time and nobody flinches. And when doubt sets in, you remember tonight. Because tonight, we didn't only just raise our voices. Tonight, we have literally written the eviction notice for every virus. Now it's time to go and serve it at every single last doorstep. Because this is good. Yeah, this is real good. Now, here, this is great.
Y'all, we're about to go home. We had an opportunity in Nashville, Tennessee to go into a studio and record this song. And so we're about to close with it. The world today is a place where people say that the odds are against us, we won't last.
The mountain's high, but I have the strength to climb. We must not stop. We must fight till we get to zero.
Get to zero. We need to get to zero. We can make it if we try.
Come on, sing, y'all.
Zero. We gotta get to zero. We need to get to zero. We can make it if we try.
Come on, seems like it's getting worse.
Seems like it's getting worse, but we still.
And even though the battle
battle's hard, we still stand together.
We know we can achieve.
We know we can achieve.
If only we believe.
If only we believe.
That it can be done.
That it can be done.
One by one.
One by one.
She can sing, y'all. I don't care what you say, zero. We gotta give you. That thing can sing. Here we go, y'all. Boom, boom, boom. Zero.
Zero. We can make it if we try.
Come on. Sing, sis.
Sing zero. We gotta get. We need to get. We can make it if we try. Can y'all stand up in this room? Come on. Everybody say yeah. Sing zero. Sing yeah. Oh.
zero.
Zero. We gotta get to zero.
Yeah, that's good.
We need to get to zero.
We can make it.
We can make it if we try.
One more time. Zero.
Zero. We gotta get to zero. We need to get to zero.
We can make it.
We can make it if we try.
Yeah. Let's break it down a little bit. Can you turn on some of those house lights on over there? Thank you, baby. Listen, turn on these house lights. Thank y'all so I can see you. There's a QR code around here. You didn't have to pay nothing for us to scream and holler and fall out and do all that stuff. So I know you got some money and a card or something. Scan that QR code. Huh? All right. Now what I'm about to do is bring out the cast of Live to Zero. Bring yourselves out here. Starting with Mother Earth. And then we got Prevention Pushers.
Yes, sir.
I love them pants.
Prevention
honey.
Pusher.
Come on. Cure to Zero. Well, no. Let's get Cure first. Come on, girl.
Cure to Zero.
And then we got Voice of Support. There we go.
Support.
Come on, Advocate Long-Term Survivor. Get over here. And let me share this. Come over here in that corner, sis. Right there. You stand right in this corner. And I need Justin. Justin lives in Mississippi now. He was one of the very first people who performed with me. And again, he was my boss. Justin came all the way from Mississippi.
Yes.
And he brought 4 beautiful youth with him through LHiV2ZERO. So thank you, Justin, for continuing to do the work.
Yes.
And thank you, baby, because Essence, you can sing, girl.
Yes, she can.
And then I got, Michelle. This is my mama, y'all. She was here. She been here all my life. So definitely, Michelle, I love you, girl. Hey, sis. All right, now I'm gonna scoot over here. Thank you. Ooh. That's a man right there, honey. Listen. No, look, listen. I want to give a shout out to Dunwood, who is my musical director. He started playing for us. Yeah. He started playing for us when we played in Hollywood, and amazing. So thank you, Dunwood and the Dunwood Band.
Dunwood Band.
Sorry. Thank you, Sense and Sounds back in the back. Thank you. And these are the Zero background singers.
Yes, sir.
Woo. Girl, y'all are the best background singers I've had today.
Ever.
The best, ever.
Ever.
And then I think that beautiful videographer, Christian. Yes. And I think not last, Dr. Tyler, thank you, my love. And I think last is my friend right here. No, not you. This person, sorry. The producer. I was grabbing him, shit. Listen, none of this would have happened without Brian. Like, none of this. I reached out to Brian, I said, this is what I would like to do, and Brian did it all for me, so I definitely appreciate you. Brian, who did what?
He fed us too.
He fed us too, each day. I think she's trying to throw shade because I didn't feed them back in the day. But my budget was low then, honey. Anyway, and it's low now, so don't even play. So make sure you scan that QR code back there. All right, $5 go a long way.
Yes.
Lastly, yes, I need some money. I think that's about it. Thank you all for coming.
All right, I'm going to be supervisor for a minute. Can we all please acknowledge who this would actually not be possible without Miss Timothy Hampton.
Woo, woo.
Love you.
Hey, beautiful.
I love my bosses, y'all. My two bosses, that Jen and that damn Rebecca, shit. They let me cuss. No, okay, anyway, I love y'all. I'll see y'all on the other side. Bye, y'all. The world today is a place where people say that the odds are against us, we won't last.
The mountain's high, but I have the strength to climb. We must not stop, we must fight till we get to zero.
Get to zero. We need to get to zero. We can make it if we try.
Come on, sing, y'all.
Zero. We gotta get to zero. We need to get to zero. We can make it if we try.
Come on, seems like it's getting worse.
Seems like it's getting worse, but we still.
And even though the battle,
battle's hard, we still stand together.
we know we can achieve.
We know we can achieve.
If only we believe
If only we believe
that it can be done.
that it can be done.
One by one.
One by one.
She can sing, y'all. I don't care what you say, zero. We gotta get it. That thing can sing. Here we go, y'all. Boom, boom, boom. Zero.
Zero. We can make it if we try.